I'm back, and I'm going to continue with this astrology series on the person I've been talking about in previous videos. I'm going to focus on yods now. I think there's about 4 or 5 of them to look at. Um, the yods are aspects. I have 5 charts combined on this whiteboard right now, and I'm going to go over it. I'm sorry that you can't see this very well, but this is pretty much the only way that I can plot 5 charts and make any sense of it is to put it all on a whiteboard. So the first yod is going to take a look at this this is the victim's vertex and Mars. Now, the vertex is a turning point, fate, destiny, that sort of idea. And it's in Scorpio, so it's going to have to do with things that are very hard to master, very hard to control, circumstances beyond your control, that sort of thing. And also Scorpio rules death, sex, rebirth, regeneration, those sort of things. So all of Scorpio's aspects are not bad, but some of them are. And then we have Mars here, and this is the victim's Mars at 16 degrees Scorpio. And Mars, it rules the human head, okay? It can signal things like surgical procedures, decapitation, dismemberment, that sort of thing. It's aggression. Mars is like... it's ruled by fire, so you get the idea of anger and aggression and that sort of thing. And so we have the vertex at 18 degrees Scorpio, Mars at 16 degrees Scorpio, and these are the victim. Okay, and then 60 degrees from there, over here in Virgo, we have an asteroid called Mizar at 15 degrees Virgo. I'm sorry, a fixed star, not an asteroid. My apologies. Okay, Mizar is associated with unfortunate circumstances, fires, mass calamities, that sort of thing. And so it's in Virgo. And at the apex of the yod, which is going to be in Aries, is the victim's Uranus at 17 degrees Aries. Now, some people would say the orbs have to be exact, 17, 17, and 17, or they can only be like 1 orb apart. Here I've taken the liberty of 2 degrees orb on either side. Some astrologers would disagree with me about my inclusion of Mizar, because a lot of astrologers think, well, you can only use planets. You can't use parts of fortune. You can't use fixed stars, that sort of thing. But in this scenario, it makes more sense to use them. So I'm going to use them. I've always used them, and I'm going to keep using them. But typically, a classical yod, by definition of most more conservative astrologers, is that you would have 2 slower planets, and the apex would be the fastest moving planet. But look at this planet at the apex. It's Uranus. And what does Uranus rule? Uranus rules hydroelectric power, electricity in general, lightning, and dams. And as I've said before, I believe if this person is deceased, she is submerged in water, multiple containers near a dam, and I believe it would be Patrick Henry Dam. Okay? So, again, to combine, the vertex, which is a turning point, fate, destiny, things we have difficulty controlling, and the Mars, they are conjunct in her chart. Mars is, like I said, aggression, surgical procedures, dismemberment, that kind of thing. 60 degrees from there in Virgo, we have Mizar, fixed star, unfortunate circumstances. And then here we have Uranus, again, which is electrical power, lightning, calling 911, emergencies, sudden events, dams, all forming a yod right here. Okay? Now, another yod I want to look at concerns the Neptune of the 911 call, and it's in Pisces. It's in its domicile because Neptune rules Pisces, so we say it's in its domicile. So it's at 23 degrees Pisces, and Pisces rules things like marine life, fishing holes, oceans, water, the icy depths, icy temperatures also with Neptune. Okay, and let's see. It is 60 degrees from the 911 calls Pluto and part of fortune. Now, Pluto deals with death. It also deals with big corporations, massive buildings. You know, the goings-on inside the building are very impersonal. Impersonal towards society, but yet needed by society, like a dam. Okay. Also deals with, like I said, death. It rules the sign of Scorpio. And the part of fortune, again, has to do with fate and destiny. Of the 911 call, so there's 60 degrees forming the base of the yod. Neptune in Pisces, Pluto in part of fortune, in Capricorn. Now, Capricorn, when it comes to the body, it rules the bones and the skin and the teeth and the hair, minute structures of the body, but mainly the bones. So we have fishing holes, things like that, bodies of water, marine life, and then we have bones. We have the part of fortune, which is destiny, fate. It's a little bit different, though. It's things that affect your luck. Okay, it's a little hard. I'll try to put something below that explains the part of fortune more fully than I can explain it now. But Pluto is of more concern, and so these are the planets of the 911 call. Okay, and then at the apex over here, we have the moon of the 911 call. So these three form a yod, the 911 call, and the moon is in Leo. Now, what's significant about that? I'm sorry, I started with a new makeup, and it's just, I hate it. I'm going to have to use something else. So anyway, we have this moon here, the 911 call. It's in Leo. Leo rules royalty. Okay, it's associated with royalty. All right, and it's at 27 degrees of Leo. And what's significant to me about this is, like I said, Leo rules royalty. Royalty is kings. The dam is in Kingsport. The moon is what? Lost items, lost people, preschool age children. Okay, so you put that together, and what do you have? Lost preschool age children. And then we have Mars. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. Lost preschool age children. We have bones. And then we have bodies of water, fishing holes, that sort of thing. When you put that together in this context of a missing person, and combine that with everything else that I've been talking about since January. Probably January 28th is when I started this of 2022. 2023. Well, there's your context. So now, let's see. I have taken care of the purple yod. I've taken care of the green yod. I'm color coding them to try to keep track of them because it's hard to keep up with 4 or 5 yods in a chart. Now I'm going to go over here to what I'm going to call the pink yod. All right. Here in Capricorn, which is the bones, ruled by Saturn, We have Pluto, Mercury, and Venus. They are all the victims or the missing persons planets right here. Mercury deals with communication. Pluto deals with death. Venus is money, how money is earned, mostly luxuries, things along that line. And they're all in Capricorn, which is a very conservative sign. It's associated with strictness and tradition, sometimes poverty, things like that. It depends on the context. I'm not going to say that she was living in poverty because I don't define where she was living as poverty. I don't. I've seen some situations, so I wouldn't say that about her. Let's see here. And then over here in Scorpio, which is 60 degrees from Capricorn, we have her vertex, which was in another yod, and her Mars. Vertex is turning points, fate, destiny, things that are beyond control. Very hard to control when it's in Scorpio. Mars, again, deals with the human head, surgery, blood also is ruled by Mars, and dismemberment, decapitation, that sort of thing. All right, so we have those two in what I call the pink yod, and then down here at the apex of the yod, this is interesting. The Mercury of the 911 call is at 17 degrees, and the Mercury of the person who the dam was named after, Patrick Henry, his Mercury, 17 degrees. In Gemini, and Gemini is ruled by Mercury, which is short trips, okay? So, in my astrological opinion, she didn't go far through this whole scenario. Didn't go far from home. And this Mercury also deals with communication. It's also sharp objects. Mercury is also associated with surgical procedures, that sort of thing. But mostly things like the neighborhood, your closer world, as opposed to Sagittarius, which would be the bigger picture, the world around you, a much further distance. So yeah. Again, I'll go through it. Pluto, Mercury, and Venus in Capricorn. The bones, communication, short trips, how money is earned, that sort of thing. Combined with the vertex, turning points, fate, destiny, things that are hard to control, Mars, surgical procedures, aggression, dismemberment, that sort of thing. Forming coming to an apex here with Mercury, conjunct Mercury, 911 calls Mercury, Patrick Henry's Mercury, exact conjunction at 17 degrees. In the sign of short trips, things like that. And can also be associated with surgical procedures because Gemini is like sharp instruments. It's also associated with color silver, things like mercury, that kind of thing, because it's ruled by Mercury. Alrighty, so that's the pink yod. Got rid of that one. Now there is an orange yod, and this one is interesting. Let's see here. This one starts with, let me see here, orange. Okay, alright. The 911 calls Pluto, and the 911 calls part of fortune. Those come into play again here in this orange yod. They're in Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn, which rules the bones. Okay? And then I come over here to Scorpio, 60 degrees away, and we have Venus, the Venus of my astrological suspect at 29 degrees Scorpio. Venus is how money is earned, things like that. It's in the house, it's in the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio rules other people's money. Also Mars co-rules Scorpio. And it's ruled also by Pluto. So we have the Pluto in Capricorn, like I said, rules the bones. Then we have Venus of the, I'm sorry, that's what the 911 call. And then the astrological suspect, his Venus here at 29 degrees, 60 degrees away. And so the Venus in Scorpio, well, Venus is in its detriment in Scorpio. That's like the worst place for Venus to be. This is a person who has a lot of trouble with relationships, possibly even marital problems, possible divorce history. It's not a happy place for Scorpio. Scorpio deals with other people's money, and then Venus is how money is earned. And so I've been saying all along this was done for money. And so we have that. And then, let's see, I'm still on the orange one, right? The apex, which is going to be right here. Okay, we have the Neptune of the Patrick Henry's Neptune at 25 degrees, which is the apex. It's like the end of the yod, okay? And then the 911 calls Sun, okay? So, but I think more significantly is Patrick Henry's Neptune. So the dam was named after Patrick Henry. Neptune rules, like I said, marine life, disillusionment, the dream world, things below the surface of the water, fish, fishing holes, all that sort of thing, the ocean, bodies of water. So all of this, in my personal opinion, points to her being either very close to water if alive, like maybe living in a lake house or something like that, but if deceased, submerged in water. And we have Mars here, and I think we had Mars somewhere else. I can't remember, but which deals with things like dismemberment. It's terrible to think about. I don't like it. And then we have Neptune coming up several times, and also Uranus, maritime things, marine life, Uranus, things like electricity, dams. So the more I dig into the astrology of it, looking at conjunctions and yods, those are kind of the first things I look at. I look at other things too. I look at trines and squares and semi-squares, sesquisquares, quincunxes, all of that. By the way, quincunxes are, I've never seen a good one, and I tell people all the time, if you ever find a good quincunx, email me. I want to know what it's about. And there's quincunxes all over this thing too, and I haven't gotten into that part of it yet, because as you can see, it takes me a while just to go through the yods. And like I said, I use asteroids and yods. I use things like parts of fortune, which are Arabic parts or Arabic lots. I use things in yods that some astrologers won't use. I don't know what to say about that really, except for, I have come to some really real conclusions by doing this. Things that turned out to be correct, things that went the way I thought they were going to go. So I'm a little more liberal than most astrologers with regards to these kinds of things. And so, but I am aware of the more conservative school of thought on what the definition of a yod is. But basically, it's something over here, and then 60 degrees from it, something over here, and then it points to something in the middle, okay? Like I said, their definition would be planet, and then faster moving planet at the apex of the yod, like something like the sun or the moon or something like that. So, anyway, I hope that helped you understand my line of thinking and why I think that this person, if they are deceased, are submerged in water, probably been dismembered, probably been put in multiple containers. Now, then the question is, well, wouldn't they float to the top? You know, I know it's a morbid thing to think about, but okay. If the containers are weighted and holes were drilled in them, or holes were already in them, or something like that, if enough weight was added to the containers, if this is the scenario, because like I said, this person could be alive, and I pray to God that's the case. Then they could stay submerged and possibly even stationary wherever they were placed. If my theories and scenarios are correct, okay? Because it would have to be done that way, because our water temperatures down south change quite a bit between summer and winter. So, you know, if you were to try to, if you were a criminal and you wanted to dispose of a body in water in the southeast, you would have to make sure it was weighted and all of that, because when the weather gets warm, or the weather is warm, like they might initially sink, but when gases and everything form in the body, they're going to float to the top, which is why anything that they were placed in, or however they were placed, would have to be weighted down south. But now, a place like Lake Huron, where the water temperatures are always really, really cold no matter what the season, if a criminal wanted to dispose of a body somewhere like Lake Huron, they're going to sink and they're going to stay sunk, because the water temperatures always remaining a certain icy degree of cold that is not going to allow gases to form in the body to make the body rise to the top and possibly be found. Now, how would a person go about doing this? You know, this is a far stretch for me, but I gotta kind of think like a criminal, which is a bummer because, well, I'll just tell you, I've never been in trouble with the law, so I have to like go through astrology and dowsing and tarot and everything, and I gotta try to think like a criminal would think. So I think maybe the scenario might have been this person was probably familiar with Patrick Henry Dam, probably someone that went fishing a lot or something like that, or maybe went camping there. I don't know what the scenario is because I've never been there, but I've seen pictures online and it looks like it's a fishing place, a place where people take their boats and whatnot. And if such a person had, say, maybe a hatch in the floor of their boat or something, you know, a hatch that opens up, they could have possibly dropped the containers or whatever through that hole. It would have been harder, you know, to not be spotted or whatever, to put containers or something like that over the side of the boat. Would have had to probably been done maybe a quarter or half a mile or something like that from the dam, because, you know, the dam probably has cameras all around it. There's a bridge about a quarter mile from there, I think, called Hammond Bridge or something. And it's possible that they went over, got under the Hammond Bridge and did, you know, this scenario. But like I said, this person could still be alive. I don't know. And all of this could be indicating that she's near water. Okay. Like I said, maybe a black market adoption or something like that occurred. I pray that's the case. This is just awful. Ugh, I hate thinking of the scenarios that I got to put my mind through to deal with this. But anyway, somebody had asked me a question. They wanted me to douse it out, so I'm going to douse it out for them. They wanted to know how this person, this kidnapper, let's just say it like it is. I know there's people out there saying that, oh, you know, law enforcement said there's no evidence of a kidnapping. Well, that's kind of like the time in my mind that, you know, I contacted Amazon. Hey, I didn't get my package. Well, can you send us proof that you didn't get your package? And so I sent them a picture of my empty hand. Okay? Same thing. She's not here. Nobody knows where she's at. She got kidnapped. She got kidnapped. Nobody's going to convince me otherwise. So anyway, whoever kidnapped her, the person wanted to know where she was the first time he spotted her. Okay? Because this might have been a situation where he might have stalked her for a while. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions to try to determine that. So I want to thank Spirit for coming into this space and helping me out with these questions. Spirit, the first time the kidnapper saw the person I'm talking about in this video, was she outside of her own home? Open, yes. Closed, no. I've gotten that before. Okay. So I got to try to put this together because this location is kind of a hard location to get to. You have to know a little bit about the place so that you would know. Okay, let me back up. There is a video, and the title of the video says something about a bus trail. Went to this home with permission of the parents, and they scoped out the place, and they saw that there were different trails around the house, not just one that has been talked about. And they said that one of the parents had left the home, left the driveway, and he didn't see or hear him leave. That he just knew that, he was gone. Because maybe he went to another part of the yard or whatever and saw that he was gone. So apparently on this property there are deaf spots and blind spots. So the person would have had to have a little knowledge of the property. Okay. And people have pointed this out to me. And so that's why I went to that video. So with that said, I want to know how this person saw her outside. Did the kidnapper first see the person I'm talking about in this video at her home as a result of going to the home to do work on the home? Open, yes. Closed, no. That's exactly what I suspected. I suspected that this was someone who went to the home to do something to the home. Maybe they needed a repair or something. I don't know. So maybe they were there years before. They may not have ever even met this family, except to go and work on their home. It might have been some kind of work like road construction or something like that, where the parents, wouldn't know him or anything, but he was just outside working around that area somehow and saw her. So that part of it has been hard to explain because I've asked the rods, had they ever met this kidnapper? And they always say no. So somehow he saw her around her house. I don't know if he had a drone. I don't know, because I see drones all the time now. Another possibility is, like I said, I think this is a crime ring thing where there's multiple people. Maybe someone else saw her and then told him about her, where she was. Maybe that person knew more about the place and maybe knew to tell him where to be, where to park, blah, blah, blah. So it could have been one of those friend of a friend kind of things. Like I said, that part has been hard to figure out. So I'm going to ask another question. Was the person I'm talking about in this video abducted from her basement? Open yes, closed no. Okay. I've gotten that I don't know how many times. Somehow, some way, got into her basement. Now, people say, oh, that's not possible in broad daylight. Beg your pardon. If I'm not mistaken, Adam Walsh disappeared in a mall with people everywhere. Broad daylight. His mother turned her back for a few minutes. And he was gone. Also, John Benet Ramsey. Oh, by the way, everybody was hating on her parents too. Remember that? Now, allegedly, there's a guy named Scary Gary, guy that, somebody's nickname, Scary Gary, confessing to the crime. And he confessed, allegedly, to someone that he went to school with right after it happened. The guy says, he called me and says, I hurt a girl, and then hung up on him. And he said, I called authorities, I told them what he said, but they kept focusing on the parents. They just let this guy go. All right? Now, John Benet's family was in the house, and somehow, how does she get to the basement? And somebody kills her in her own home. On what, Christmas night or something? So, there are people that, man, they're slick. I think I said in another video, my dad was in the military. And one thing he said, they teach you how to sneak up on people. It's just part of the thing. And you have to be really good at that. And he could sneak up behind me while I was washing dishes or something, be about 2 feet from me. I wouldn't even know it. I wouldn't see a shadow. I wouldn't hear anything. I wouldn't see anything. And then I would turn around and he would be laughing at me. And then he would be like, I got to get you into some self-defense and teach you how to use a gun or something because you can't sense danger around you. So he started working with me on that stuff at that time because I was like 16, I'm not to be worried about now. I'm very well equipped for anything that may happen. That I can promise you. Because like I said, I'm a truck driver and I am in shipyards at 2 or 3 in the morning. Nobody around, getting out of a truck, walking around a huge parking lot. Anybody could be waiting for me. So, I have to be ready to defend myself. And believe me, I am. So, anyway, with that being said, I guess I'm going to wrap this up. If you have any questions, let me know for dowsing or anything I've set up here. Just drop them below. If you've given me a question before and I didn't answer it, I might have forgot, I might have lost the question. Ask me again. I will get to it, I promise you. It's probably going to be a while before I'm back. I'm getting ready to go out of town again for a while. And so this is going to be my last video probably for a few weeks. But I thank you for watching. I really appreciate you. And I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.